Okay, I'm going to get started because there's some wonderful things that I've got to show you. On that first slide there, which I hope you can all see as part of the presentation, there's a direct quote from our Chancellor, Stephen Spahn, who's one of the owners of the Dwight group of schools. I'll get my last one coming in there. Where his firm belief is that the next big ideas will all come from the under-18 sector. And that's really what underpins the Spark Tank program, is to look at the ideas that our younger people have and then to give them that opportunity to work with them and make them a reality. So essentially, Spark Tank is all about innovation and ideas and how we can actually bring those into the real world and do that in a safe, comforting environment rather than the harsh, cold realities of the real world. This is the message that we give our students with regards to what the Spark Tank program is about, that they don't have to wait until they've finished the diploma program, or they don't have to wait until they've finished university. They don't have to wait until they're 5 years into a career. They don't have to wait. The opportunities can be presented or can be made real now. So the Spark Tank program operates really on a couple of different levels. One, it arms them or equips them with a lot of skills that are, as Mr. Beddoes was pointing out, required or desired by the job market, but also at the same time, it hopes to ignite a little bit of a spark in them to think that maybe they don't need to be an employee. Maybe they can be an employer, or they can be an entrepreneur. So the aim of the Spark Tank program is to give them these real life experiences and to develop essential skills that really go way beyond the classroom. I'm going to share with you some examples of some success stories from our sister school in New York. This little girl is called Audrey. She's 10. And Audrey has created a series of children's books that are for children around about her age, about endangered sea life. And she's going to sell those books, and the book sale profits will go to a charity that helps with that project. I want you to just think for a second. Audrey is 10. Spark Tank helped her to do this. This is Maria. Maria is one of my favorite Spark Tank stories. There are 4 on this. I'll just go through them quite quickly. Maria's been through the Spark Tank program 3 times. She got very, very lucky in her first one. One of the mentors in the program happened to work for a New York fashion house. And this is where we start drawing on a lot of our alumni and our international network to actually find mentors for these pupils. She's had 2 successful fashion shows in South America, and she now runs her online store selling her collection. Her clothes are actually available in shops in New York. Maria is set to achieve her goal to be the world's best fashion designer. So watch out for Maria. You'll probably be wearing something by her in the next 5 years. Or if you're not, then you'll know someone that does. Just missed my cue there. This is Stefan. Stefan's been through the Spark Tank program 4 times now. He's a lot more of an inventor than an innovator as such, but his focus was on creating a 3D printed prosthetic hand for amputees. Through the Dwight network and a lot of pushing and shoving, Stefan actually ended up on the Fox Business Network being interviewed. That again is the push behind Spark Tank, is actually putting them into real world situations. I hope that in the future we'll see some amazing things from Stefan. And this last one, Daniel's 17. He's now graduated from Dwight, New York. Daniel's been on the Jimmy Fallon show. He invented a lifetime closed caption system that worked similar to the Google Glass system, where if you were hard of hearing, you would wear this thing on your head and it would listen to what someone said and then print that in front of your eye. He's also created a portable particle accelerator as part of his time in Spark Tank. And that's now being picked up by a US school supply distributor and is used in classrooms across the United States. So those 4 success stories all came out of the Spark Tank program. You might be thinking, well, how on earth did that happen? But I want to show you something more, because Dwight is definitely about community. All 4 of these individuals operated as individuals within the Spark Tank. But have a little think about what's been happening recently. Whilst we were on lockdown in New York, the Spark Tank Service Challenge was put into place to challenge the students to create an innovation for the greater good. They were offered a £250 grant. The school funds these things, and the Dwight London also has a fund to enable these students to take these things to a launch stage. But this was more of a trial thing to happen whilst we were in a lockdown. Students worked as teams or as individuals, and these are some of the examples of some of the things that our students in New York did in June this year. So Sole Purpose was an organization that 2 students created to collect sneakers and socks and deliver them to homeless shelters. Operation USA delivered water, hand sanitizer, and cleaning supplies to particularly vulnerable people within the New York area. Safe Horizon was a non-profit organization set up as part of the Spark Tank initiative, using that $250 to help specifically help women who are victims of domestic violence, which saw an increase during the pandemic. Sustainable Start, another non-profit organization, makes eco-friendly hygiene necessities available to New York homeless. And NY Strong basically operated as an organization creating the opportunity to give first responders, healthcare workers, and people who are working on the front line during the pandemic access to free items such as water, snacks, health sanitizer, and things like that. So you can see that it's not just about creating this wonderful business idea, but it's actually about making the world a better place. So you might be thinking, okay, well, how does that fit with everything else that works at Dwight? Spark Tank is what we call a 5-stage incubator, and the purpose behind it is to try to nurture student innovation. It's to develop entrepreneurial skills, leadership skills, and things that under a traditional curriculum wouldn't necessarily see much airtime. For each stage of the tank, they have a set of objectives, and then at any point they can present those to a panel. I'll take you through the 5 stages, and you can see some of the depth that they go into with this. So the first stage is pretty much just coming up with an idea, being able to explain it, being able to develop a proposal for that. It's quite a straightforward start, and most students can get to this one reasonably quickly. They then move on to stage 2. So here they start going into a little bit more depth. They start researching and planning it, working out a long-term goal for the project. They start to test options if they're producing a product, or even just produce a plan for how their service might work. They then need to start working on time management and project management skills, and to produce a draft budget for how their product or their service might actually be implemented. So you can see quite early on within the incubators, they're picking up some skills that are not really part of the traditional curriculum. They're actually outside of the curriculum and a lot more to do with the way that the world of work might actually be for them. Stage 3 is where they start developing and testing prototypes, if it's a product, or they start actually engaging with their consumers or their customers, and they start working out how they can develop the prototype or the service. So they start putting a bit of polish onto it. At this stage, they've got to get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, start producing budgets, costings, and pricings. And you might be thinking, oh, wow, how does an 11-year-old do that? They're supported all the way through this. This program actually enables them to think about it in very small chunks and to enable them to kind of reach out and do that research. That gets them to stage 4. By this point, they've had some testing, they've seen some feedback, they may be actually looking to talk to suppliers or talking to manufacturers if it's a product that they're putting together, and they're refining it and developing the life cycle of that project. And the last stage is to actually launch it as a real business or a non-profit or even a product. They produce a full marketing plan. They look at different marketing channels. They actually start to sell and bring money into their business. So that's the incubator, and that's the overview of how the program works, how it's put together on a daily basis within Dwight London. M1 have a double lesson every fortnight where we go through the fundamentals of what Spark Tank's about. We use kidpreneurs as a background to this, which is a wonderful, wonderful set of workbooks that introduces this, not a choice, but essentially a discussion point about the benefits of being an employee versus being an entrepreneur. We encourage them to develop this growth mindset, but it doesn't matter that they're 11, it doesn't matter that they're 14, that things can change. And they see lots and lots and lots of examples of students that have done very, very similar things at a very young age. We use something called the design thinking model, which a lot of universities have now adopted in opposition to a business thinking model that may have been prevalent in previous years. The design thinking model encourages them to fail, to continue to fail, and to keep trying different variations of what might work, and just to not give up, just to keep trying. At the same time, we teach them pitch presentation skills. So they kind of develop a little bit of a story as to what their product is about, who it's going to benefit, and how it's going to work. And then on the background of this, we show them business modeling and marketing approaches. We develop their public speaking skills, and also we encourage them to work on their project management skills. Seems like quite a lot. It can be sometimes, but it can be a little bit intimidating for some of them who might be thinking, oh, but I just want to come to school. I don't really want to do this. But in others, it can really open their eyes to other possibilities. And the track does not have to be, I'm going to school, I'm going to university, I'm getting a job, and I'm going to stay with that job. That's not really how the world is working anymore. I think most of us can appreciate that there have been times where we've had to reskill, or we've had to rethink what we want to do. Or maybe from a very early age, we had that idea and just didn't have the opportunity. And that's what Spark Tank is about, providing that opportunity. Lastly, we also do something called Junior Frontier Days. And these are full day experience. And we put a collection of year groups together. They are set a challenge to find a new way to improve their community. Last year's one, we focused on improving Dwight's community. And we teach explicit design thinking methods. So how they can brainstorm, how they can work collectively, how they can communicate an idea visually or through the spoken word, and what other media they can incorporate into that. And they're working in teams in this. The aim at the end of this second day is for them to present their pitch to a panel who select the winning idea, and then that is mentored and launched. So we're still in the process of deciding what community challenge we'll put together for them for this year. But last year's one was to improve Dwight's community in terms of how students would access homework. And they worked on helping us to develop how we use Google Classroom. So Spark Tank, essentially, that's how it fits together. You should have access to the chat channel. But there are only 9 of us, or 7 or so of us in here. So if you want to open your mic and ask me a question about something specific about it, please feel free to.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, I missed the beginning bit, but was this an actual subject that the children study as they would maths and English, or is it just
That's a very good question. It is timetabled for M1. Okay. However, it is also a program that they can drop into. Obviously, after school stuff is a bit difficult for us to do at the moment. Under normal circumstances, they would have the opportunity to come along after school on a Monday, and then they would work on their Spark Tank project. But for this year, it is timetabled for M1 once every fortnight for 2 lessons. So that's an hour and a half every 2 weeks. And it swaps with Forest School. So they do Forest School 1 week, and then they do Spark Tank the next.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
But it's not something that we assess. It's not something that they have to sit tests for. It's literally something that we provide in a similar way to Forest School to broaden their experience about what they have access to at school.
It's amazing.
So in a similar, I've just seen Jill's message there as well. It's not an elective. It is not a timetabled subject for every year group yet, although I am seeing what we can do with the timetable for next year, and we'll bring that up the school as the current M1 go through the school. But it is something that every Dwight student has the opportunity to access. Is that making sense to everyone? Are we all enlivened? Do you all want to join Spark Tank? We've got a brilliant idea. Yeah. Want some Dwight money to make your business come together? Yeah, we can work that one out.
Sorry, you may have asked this already, but I got distracted by my son. But is it something that starts from 11, the Spark Tank? Is that what you were saying?
Yes. So 11-year-old students, so our students in M1 or year 7, if you're from the British system, I have to work in both money. Yes, they have that once every 2 weeks.
Okay, great.
Okay, is there anything else that anyone would like me to clarify, or shall I go back to the beginning and you can move along to your next?
Learning about the ring octopuses. They are very small octopuses. They can be.
You can move along to your next one if you want to.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you all for coming.
Many thanks for that.
You're welcome.